My daughter Sharon was standing in my driveway, holding a property deed with my name on it, her face completely white. "Mom, this says you bought a farm, a goat farm, for $600,000. Cash." I kept loading boxes of premium yarn into my brand new SUV. Cashmere, merino, alpaca, the expensive stuff she'd been criticizing me for buying for years. "That's right, sweetheart. Closing was yesterday." "But how? You're on a fixed income. You live on Social Security. You spend all day knitting." I turned to face her, my daughter, who'd spent the last 4 years telling me I was wasting money on my useless hobby, who'd suggested I move into assisted living to save money, who'd looked down on every single thing I did. "Sharon," I said calmly, "I do spend all day knitting. That's how I made the money." Her mouth literally fell open. "Let me back up," I continued, "because this story doesn't start with a farm or a check. It starts with you telling me my hobby was worthless. My name is Betty. I'm 68 years old, and I'm about to tell you how I built $1 million business while my own children thought I was a broke old lady wasting her retirement on yarn. 4 years ago, I was newly widowed. My husband George had passed, leaving me with a small pension, a paid-off house, and a whole lot of empty days to fill. I'd always knitted. It was my meditation, my therapy, my joy. After George died, I knitted even more. Sweaters, blankets, scarves, beautiful pieces that I'd give away to friends or donate to charity. My daughter Sharon, successful businesswoman, always hustling, would visit and shake her head at my yarn stash. "Mom, this yarn costs $40 a skein. You're spending hundreds of dollars on hobby supplies when you're on a fixed income. That's irresponsible." "I enjoy it, Sharon." "Enjoyment doesn't pay the bills. You need to be more careful with money. Have you thought about downsizing? This house is too big for you. You could sell it, move into a senior community, save the difference." Senior community. She meant assisted living. At 64, she wanted me in assisted living. My son Mark was gentler about it, but he agreed. "Mom, we just want you to be comfortable. We worry about you managing expenses alone." They worried about me becoming their burden. That's what they really meant. So one day, after Sharon had just finished lecturing me about my wasteful spending on premium yarn, I decided something. I was going to show them exactly how wasteful my hobby was. I took one of my hand-knitted sweaters, a gorgeous cabled cardigan in merino wool, and I posted it on Etsy, just to see, just to prove a point to myself. I priced it at $350 because it had taken me 40 hours to make, used premium materials, and was genuinely beautiful. It sold in 18 hours. I sat at my computer, staring at that sale notification, and something clicked. My useless hobby had just made me $350. What if I did this seriously? What if I treated it like a business instead of just a pastime? I started researching. Luxury knitwear market, pricing strategies, photography, branding. I dove in like I was studying for a PhD. I created a brand called the Hearthside Knit, hired a local art student to help with photography and packaging, paid her well, treated her professionally, set up a proper online store. I turned my old laundry room into a studio, invested in professional lighting, a good camera, proper storage for inventory. Whenever Sharon or Mark visited, I kept that door locked. "Just storage," I'd tell them. "Old boxes of your father's things, too painful to sort through yet." They believed me every single time. Within 3 months, I was making $4,000 a month, net profit. After materials, after paying my assistant, after all expenses. By the end of the first year, I'd made $50,000, and I didn't tell anyone. Why, you might ask? Why keep it secret? Because Sharon had made me feel small. Every visit, every comment about my expensive hobby, and my fixed income, and my need to be more responsible. I wanted to prove something. To her, to Mark, but mostly to myself. I wanted to prove that this 64-year-old widow wasn't useless, wasn't a burden, wasn't someone who needed to be managed and controlled. So I kept knitting, kept selling, kept building. My pieces started getting featured in boutique shops. Fashion bloggers discovered me. I had customers in 15 countries. My prices went up. Some pieces sold for $500, some for $800. And every month, I deposited that money into a separate account, an account my children knew nothing about. I had a plan, a dream. I was going to buy a small farm, start a fiber farm with goats and sheep, produce my own yarn, live out my days doing what I loved, surrounded by animals, completely independent. The business kept growing. By year 2, I was making $70,000 a year. Year 3, $90,000. Year 4, the year Sharon found out, I'd made over $100,000, all from my useless hobby. All while Sharon told me I was being irresponsible with money. All while they discussed, right in front of me, whether I was capable of managing my finances. I let them think I was struggling, let them pity me, let them feel superior, because I knew the truth. And the truth was, I was building an empire. Then Sharon's business hit trouble, real trouble, and she needed money. $50,000 to keep it afloat. She sent Mark to ask me, because she couldn't lower herself to ask directly. Mark came over, nervous and apologetic. "Mom, Sharon's in trouble. Her business needs an emergency loan. We were wondering, could you possibly help? We know money is tight, but even $5,000 or $10,000 would help." I looked at my son, my good son who'd still been part of treating me like I was incompetent. "Let me think about it," I said. A week later, I called them both over. Sharon arrived first, probably expecting me to hand over a check for $5,000 and a lecture about being careful with money. Instead, I handed her an envelope. She opened it. Inside was the property deed for a 60-acre farm in the Virginia countryside. Purchased for cash. $600,000. Purchased by me. That's when her face went white. That's when she realized her broke old mom had been playing her all along. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment I realized my hobby could be something more. It was a Wednesday afternoon about 4 years ago. Sharon had just left after another one of her concerned daughter visits. "Mom, I saw you bought 3 skeins of cashmere yarn. Do you know how much that costs? You're on a fixed income. You need to start thinking about the future." The future. Code for when you run out of money and become our problem. After she left, I sat at my kitchen table, furious. Not just angry, furious. At the condescension, at the assumption that I was incompetent, at being treated like a child. I looked at the sweater I'd been working on, a gorgeous Fair Isle cardigan in that expensive cashmere Sharon had criticized. I'd been planning to donate it to the church bazaar. Instead, I took photos of it with my phone. They weren't great photos, bad lighting, wrinkled background, but you could see the quality of the work. I created an Etsy account, The Hearthside Knit. Not my real name, I used my middle name and my maiden name, Elizabeth Hartley. Nobody would connect that to Betty Morrison. I listed the sweater for $350. My heart was pounding as I hit publish. What if nobody bought it? What if I'd just proven Sharon right, that this was a waste? 18 hours later, someone bought it. A woman in Seattle who left a 5-star review. "This is the most beautiful hand-knitted piece I've ever owned. Worth every penny. I'll be back for more." Worth every penny. I cried reading that, because for the first time in months, someone had told me my work had value. I made more pieces, started developing a signature style, intricate color work, perfect construction, attention to detail that you couldn't get from mass-produced items. I researched pricing for luxury knitwear, discovered that hand-knitted pieces from established makers sold for $500, $800, even $1,000. The key was presentation, photography, branding, story. That's when I hired Melissa. She was a college student studying photography and graphic design. I found her ad on a local bulletin board. "We'll photograph anything for $50. I called her. "How would you like a steady gig, 20 hours a week, $15 an hour, photographing knitwear and helping with online marketing?" She practically ran to my house. We transformed my laundry room. Melissa helped me set up proper lighting, a backdrop system, a shipping station. She taught me about Instagram, about hashtags, about building an aesthetic. "Betty, your work is museum quality," she said. "We need to price it like it." We raised prices. $500 for a complex sweater, $300 for a simple one, $150 for accessories. And they sold. God, did they sell. Within 6 months, I had a waiting list. People booking custom pieces 3 months in advance. Fashion bloggers featuring my work. Boutique shops asking if they could carry my items on consignment. I was making money, real money. More than I'd made at any job I'd ever had. And nobody in my family had any idea. The locked laundry room helped. Whenever Sharon or Mark visited, I made sure that door was secured. Made sure my computer showed only solitaire and recipe websites. "What do you do all day, Mom?" Mark would ask. "Oh, you know, knit, watch my stories, keep busy." They bought it completely. Sharon would walk past the locked door and say, "Mom, you really should clean out that room. All those boxes of Dad's things? It's been 2 years. It's time to let go." If only she knew what was really in there. Not boxes of grief, but shelves of inventory. Premium yarn organized by weight and color. A professional photography setup. A shipping station with branded boxes and tissue paper. A computer running a 6-figure business. My daily routine became a well-choreographed dance. Wake up at 6, answer customer emails, work on current projects, break for lunch, afternoon knitting session, evening photography with Melissa 3 times a week, pack and ship orders. I was working harder than I'd worked in years, and I loved every minute of it. The money accumulated, $4,000 a month, then $5,000, then $6,000 during holiday seasons. I funneled it all into my secret account, watched it grow from a few thousand to 20,000 to 50,000. I had a goal, $600,000. That's what I needed to buy the farm I wanted. 60 acres in Virginia horse country, beautiful land with a stream, existing barn structures, a small cottage, perfect for goats, perfect for sheep, perfect for growing my own fiber and continuing my knitwear business on my own terms. At my current rate, I'd reach my goal in about 7 years. Then something changed. The business exploded. A fashion blogger with 2 million followers discovered my work, posted about it. The Hearthside knit makes the most exquisite hand-knitted pieces I've ever seen. This isn't your grandmother's knitwear. This is art. Orders flooded in. My waiting list went from 3 months to 6 months. I raised prices again. Some pieces were now selling for $800. I hired 2 more part-time helpers, both college students, both paid fairly, both sworn to secrecy about my real identity. "Why the secret?" Melissa asked once. "Because my daughter thinks I'm a foolish old woman wasting money on yarn," I said, "and I'm not ready to correct her yet." Melissa laughed. "When you do correct her, can I please be there to see her face?" Deal. The money poured in. By year 3, I'd made $90,000. By year 4, I was on track to make over $100,000. My secret account reached $400,000, then $500,000, then $550,000. I was so close to my goal, so close to buying that farm and living my dream. Then Sharon's business started failing. She'd overextended, taken on too much debt, made risky investments that didn't pan out. She came to Sunday dinner looking stressed, told Mark right in front of me, "I might have to close the business. I need $50,000 and I have no idea where to get it." Mark said, "What about a loan?" "Banks won't approve me, too much existing debt." They both looked at me. I could see the calculation in their eyes. Could Mom help? But then Sharon shook her head. "Mom doesn't have that kind of money. Mom lives on Social Security and Dad's small pension." They dismissed me without even asking. That's when I decided. It was time to reveal my secret, not to help Sharon, she'd made her own mess, but to show them both who I really was. To show them that their poor old mom was more successful than either of them had ever imagined. I called the real estate agent the next day. "That farm we've been looking at? Make an offer. $600,000, cash. I want to close in 2 weeks." Are you sure? She asked. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. The offer was accepted within hours. 2 weeks later, I owned a farm, and I hadn't told my children a single thing. Sharon's business was in free fall, and I could see it eating her alive. She'd always been the successful one, the one with the MBA, the one with the business acumen, the one who looked down on my simple life. And now she was failing, while I, her silly old mother with expensive hobbies, was thriving. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 weeks before the big revelation, Sharon mentioned she was attending a business conference in New York. Emerging Trends in Artisan E-Commerce, or something like that. Sounds boring, I said, knitting away on a custom order, a Norwegian-style pullover that would sell for $750. It's important to stay current, she said primly, though I doubt there's anything relevant to your hobby. Your hobby. The dismissiveness in those 2 words. I smiled. Probably not. What Sharon didn't know was that the Hearthside Knit had been invited to present at that exact conference, as a case study in successful artisan business scaling. I'd declined, of course. Couldn't risk Sharon finding out. Not yet. But the conference organizers had still featured my business in their materials. They'd reached out months earlier for permission to use my metrics as an example. I'd said yes, because I was proud of what I'd built, even if I wasn't ready to claim credit publicly yet. The night of Sharon's conference presentation, I couldn't sleep, kept imagining her sitting in that audience, seeing my business on the screen, and not recognizing it. The next morning, my phone rang. Sharon. Her voice was strange. Mom, I need to ask you something weird. My heart started racing. What's that, honey? Do you know anything about a brand called the Hearthside Knit? I kept my voice steady. Should I? There was this presentation yesterday about successful artisan businesses. They featured this knitwear company, and the name, it sounded so familiar, like something I'd heard before. Mm-hmm. The numbers were insane, Mom. This person is making 6 figures selling hand-knitted items. Can you imagine someone actually making that kind of money from knitting? That does sound impressive. I thought about you, about your knitting, but obviously it's not, you just do it for fun. Obviously. Anyway, I was thinking, maybe you could try selling some of your pieces online? Nothing serious, just a little extra income. Though you'd never make real money like the Hearthside Knit. Those people are professionals. I bit my tongue. Hard. That's an interesting idea, Sharon. I'll think about it. After we hung up, I laughed. Actually, laughed out loud. She'd seen my business, my success, my numbers, and still couldn't imagine that her hobby-obsessed mother could be behind it. That was the moment I decided to accelerate my timeline. I called my real estate agent. That farm we looked at last month, is it still available? It is. The sellers are motivated. Make them an offer they can't refuse. I want to close fast. How fast? 2 weeks. Betty, that's going to require an all-cash offer. I know. Make it happen. While the real estate process moved forward, Sharon's business crisis deepened. She'd burned through her credit. Her vendors were demanding payment. She was weeks away from having to shut down. Mark called me one evening. Mom, I need to talk to you about Sharon. Is she okay? Financially? No. She's in serious trouble. Needs about $50,000 to stay afloat. That's terrible. The thing is, we were wondering if you could help. I know money is tight for you, but even $5,000 or $10,000 would help. There it was, the ask. Let me think about it, I said. I'll get back to you in a few days. Thanks, Mom. We really appreciate it. We know you're on a fixed income and every penny counts for you. Every penny counts for me, as if I was barely scraping by. I was so tired of being underestimated. The farm closing happened on a Tuesday. I drove out there with my agent, signed the papers, got the keys. 60 acres, a beautiful farmhouse, barns ready for goats and sheep. My dream, purchased with money I'd earned myself, doing what I loved. I stood in the middle of that property, looking at the rolling hills, and I cried. Happy tears, proud tears, free tears. I'd done it, without anyone's help, without anyone's permission, without anyone's approval. That evening, I called Mark. Tell Sharon I need to talk to you both. Come to the house Saturday morning. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Just come. Saturday morning, I prepared, loaded my new SUV. Yes, I'd bought a new car too, with boxes of premium yarn. Made sure the farm deed was visible on my kitchen counter. Made sure my laptop was open to my business dashboard, showing this month's sales, $12,847 so far. Sharon arrived first, Mark right behind her. They both looked nervous. Mom, about the money, Sharon started. Sit down, I said, both of you. We need to talk. They sat on my old couch, the one Sharon had told me 3 times I should replace. I want to show you something, I said. I handed Sharon the farm deed. She read it. Once, twice, 3 times. Mom, this is a property deed for a farm for $600,000. She looked up at me. This is some kind of mistake, right? No mistake. That's my farm. I bought it last Tuesday. Cash. Sharon's face went through about 17 different expressions. But how? You're on Social Security. You have Dad's pension. You don't have this kind of money. Don't I? Mark was staring at me. Mom, where did this money come from? I turned my laptop around so they could see the screen. From my hobby. They both looked at the dashboard, the sales numbers, the customer reviews, the inventory list. Is this the Hearthside knit? Sharon's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. You're Elizabeth Hartley? Betty is short for Elizabeth. Hartley is my maiden name. Surprise. The room went silent, completely silent. Sharon looked like she might faint. Sharon was still staring at my laptop screen. Her mouth was opening and closing, but no words were coming out. Mark found his voice first. Mom, you've been running the Hearthside knit? For how long? 4 years. 4 years? And you never told us? Why would I tell you? Every time I bought yarn, Sharon criticized me for wasting money. Every time I mentioned my knitting, you both treated it like a cute little hobby that foolish old ladies do to pass the time. Sharon's face flushed red. That's not... I never... You absolutely did. My voice was calm, but firm. Last month, you told me I was being irresponsible buying cashmere yarn. That yarn went into a sweater that sold for $800. Net profit after materials and time, about $450. I pulled up my sales records. See this pullover? Sold for $750. This shawl? $500. This cardigan set? $1,000. To a customer in Germany who's now ordered 3 more pieces. Mark was scrolling through my inventory. Mom, you have orders backed up for 6 months. 7 months now, actually. I had to close my order books. Too much demand. Sharon finally found her voice. You let us think you were poor. You let us worry about you. You let me tell you to move into assisted living. You told me to move into assisted living, I corrected. I never agreed. But why? Why keep this secret? I looked at my daughter, my successful, driven, dismissive daughter. Because you made me feel worthless, Sharon. Every visit, every comment, every suggestion that I needed to be careful with money, you were really saying I was incompetent, too old, too silly, too much of a burden. Mom, I never said... You didn't have to say it directly. It was in every word, every look, every time you and Mark discussed my finances like I wasn't in the room, like I was already senile and needed managing. Mark looked ashamed. Mom, we were trying to help. Help or control? There's a difference. I stood up and walked to my locked laundry room, the mysterious room they'd been curious about for years. I unlocked it and opened the door. Welcome to my studio. They followed me in, and I watched their faces change as they took it all in. Shelves lined with premium yarn, organized by weight and color. A professional photography setup with lights and backdrops. A shipping station with branded boxes and tissue paper. A design wall covered with patterns and works in progress. This is where I spend my days, I said. Not watching TV, not wasting time. Building a business that makes more money than either of you ever gave me credit for. Sharon was touching the yarn reverently. This is incredible. Mom, this is a real business. No kidding. I mean, I saw your presentation at the conference. I saw your numbers. But I never imagined that your silly old mom could build something this successful. She winced. I deserve that. You do. Mark was looking at my computer setup, my bookkeeping software, my inventory management system. Mom, you taught yourself all this? I took online courses, watched YouTube videos, read books, hired consultants when I needed help. I learned, Mark, because I had to, because I wanted to prove to myself that I still had value. You've always had value, he said quietly. Not to you, not the way you treated me. The silence was heavy, uncomfortable. Good. They should feel uncomfortable. Sharon turned to me, her eyes wet. I'm so sorry, Mom. You're right. I did treat you like you were incompetent, like you needed to be managed, like your hobbies were silly wastes of money. They weren't hobbies. They were my business, my purpose, my proof that I mattered. I see that now. Do you? Because you came here today expecting me to bail you out, expecting poor old Mom to scrape together $5,000 or $10,000 to help her successful daughter, never imagining that I could write a check for $50,000 without even denting my savings. Her face crumpled. You won't help me. Why should I? Because I'm your daughter. And you've spent 4 years treating me like I was your burden, your responsibility, your problem to solve. Not once did you treat me like a capable adult with my own life and my own dreams. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I looked at her. Really looked at her. My daughter, who I loved despite everything, who was brilliant and driven, but had somehow learned to equate age with incompetence. Sharon, your business is failing because you overextended. You took on too much debt, made risky bets, didn't have a solid foundation. That's not bad luck. That's bad planning. I know. I built my business slowly, one piece at a time, one customer at a time. I didn't overextend. I didn't go into debt. I grew organically. That's how you build something that lasts. I know, she whispered. So no, I'm not going to bail you out. Not with money, because that won't teach you anything. It'll just delay the inevitable. Then what am I supposed to do? Figure it out, the way I did, the way every successful entrepreneur does. You face your failure, you learn from it, and you rebuild smarter. Mark spoke up. Mom, that seems harsh. Is it? Or is it the truth you both need to hear? I turned to him. You're a good man, Mark. Better than your sister about this. But you enabled her. You let her talk about me like I was already incompetent. You never stood up for me. You never asked if I was actually okay or if I just wanted to be left alone. He nodded slowly. You're right. I'm sorry. I accept your apology, both of your apologies. But things need to change. I'm not your responsibility. I'm not your burden. I'm not your problem to solve. I'm Betty Morrison, successful business owner, soon-to-be goat farmer, and a woman who's done just fine without your help. I walked toward the door. Now, I have orders to pack and ship, and next week, I'm moving to my new farm. You're both welcome to visit when you've learned to treat me with respect. Sharon called after me. Mom, wait, can I ask you something? I turned back. Will you teach me how you built this? How you grew it sustainably? I want to learn, really learn. Not as your daughter who thinks she knows everything, but as someone who just realized she doesn't know anything at all. I studied her face. She looked genuine, humbled, maybe even changed. We'll see, I said. First, you need to figure out your own mess. Then, if you're still interested, we'll talk. Okay, she said softly. Okay. I left them in my studio, surrounded by the evidence of everything they'd missed, everything they'd dismissed, everything they'd underestimated. And I went back to my knitting, because that's what I did. I created beautiful things. I built value. I proved my worth. And I'd done it all without their permission. 3 weeks after the big revelation, I was packing up my house. Well, not packing everything. I was renting it out, not selling. Another income stream. Another smart decision made without my children's input. Melissa, my photographer and assistant, was helping me pack the studio. "I still can't believe you did this," she said. "Built this whole business in secret." Had to. My family wouldn't have understood. They understand now. Do they? Or are they just shocked? Sharon had called every day since finding out, apologizing, asking questions about my business, trying to rebuild our relationship. I was letting her try, but slowly. Trust, once broken, takes time to repair. Mark had been quieter. He'd come over twice, helped me pack, didn't say much, just watched me work with this look on his face, like he was seeing me for the first time. On the third visit, he finally spoke. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about what you said." "Oh?" "About how we treated you. And you're right. We did treat you like you were incompetent, like you needed managing." "Yes. I think it scared us. After Dad died, seeing you alone, we thought we needed to protect you." "From what? From living my own life? From getting hurt? From making mistakes? From—" He paused. "From being independent, I guess." "Why would my independence scare you?" "Because then we weren't needed anymore, and that's terrifying when you're used to being needed." I put down the box I was packing and really looked at him. "Mark, that's the first honest thing you've said to me in years." "I know. I'm sorry it took this long." We packed in silence for a while. Then he asked, "Are you happy about the farm?" "Thrilled. It's everything I've dreamed about." "Good. You deserve it. You deserve all of it." Moving day arrived. I'd hired professional movers for the furniture I was taking. Not much, just my bed, my favorite chair, some personal items. The rest stayed with the house for the renters. Sharon and Mark both showed up to help. I hadn't asked them to. They just came. "We want to see your farm," Sharon said, "if that's okay." "It's okay." We caravanned out to the property, me and my new SUV, them following in their cars. The hour-long drive gave me time to think. I was 68 years old and starting over. New home, new adventure, new chapter. Most people my age were settling into retirement, slowing down. I was speeding up. When we pulled up to the farm, I heard Sharon gasp. The property was gorgeous. Rolling hills, mature trees, the renovated farmhouse with its wraparound porch. "Mom, this is beautiful." "It is, isn't it?" We toured the property. I showed them the barn I'd be converting for goats, the pastures already fenced, the studio space I'd set up in the second bedroom of the farmhouse. "You're really doing this," Mark said. "Living the dream." "I really am." Sharon was quiet, taking it all in. Finally, she spoke. "I have something to tell you." "What's that?" "I'm closing my business, officially filing bankruptcy next week." "I'm sorry, honey." "Don't be. You were right. I overextended, made stupid decisions. It's time to face that and move on." "What will you do?" "Start over. Smaller, smarter." "I was wondering." She paused. "Would you consider partnering with me? Not financially, but maybe I could help with your business? Marketing, operations, scaling? I could learn from you while helping you grow." I thought about that. "What's in it for you?" "A chance to rebuild my reputation. A chance to learn from someone who actually knows how to build a sustainable business. A chance to spend time with my mom and actually see her for who she is." "That's a good answer." "Is that a yes?" "It's a, let me think about it." You need to prove you've actually changed, Sharon, not just that you're desperate. Fair enough. Over the next few weeks, I settled into farm life. Bought my first 6 goats, beautiful Angora goats for fiber. Set up my studio, continued fulfilling orders for the Hearthside Knit. Sharon started sending me business proposals, plans for scaling my production without losing quality, marketing strategies, partnership structures. She was putting in the work, proving her commitment. Mark visited regularly, helping with farm tasks, learning about fiber production. This is so cool, Mom. I had no idea this world existed. Most people don't. My granddaughter Emma, Mark's daughter, came to visit. She was 16, at that age where everything her parents did embarrassed her. But the farm? She loved the farm. "Grandma, can you teach me to knit?" "Of course." We spent hours on the porch, me teaching her basic stitches, her asking questions about the business. "Were you scared?" she asked, "starting a business at your age?" "Terrified, but I did it anyway." "Because you had to prove something?" "Because I wanted to prove something. To myself." I think that's really cool. All my friends' grandmas just watch TV and complain about stuff. You're like living your actual life. I am living my actual life. She thought about that. I want to do that too. Live my actual life, not the one people expect. Then do it. Even if people think it's weird, especially if people think it's weird. 3 months into farm life, the Hearthside Knit reached a new milestone, $150,000 in annual revenue. I was now officially running a multi-six-figure business from a farm in rural Virginia. I posted about it on Instagram, carefully, still maintaining my Elizabeth Hartley persona. The response was overwhelming. "You're an inspiration. This is goals for my retirement. Proving age is just a number." Sharon called. "Mom, I saw your post. Congratulations." "Thank you. I've been working on something, a proposal. Can I come show you this weekend?" "Sure." That weekend, she presented a detailed plan for expanding the Hearthside Knit, hiring additional knitters, creating a cooperative model, maintaining quality while increasing output. It was brilliant, thoughtful, sustainable. "This is good work, Sharon." "So, partners?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "On one condition, name it. You never forget that I built this, that this is mine, that you're here because I'm allowing you to be, not because you swooped in to save your incompetent mother." She nodded seriously. "I'll never forget, I promise." Then yes, partners. We shook hands, mother and daughter, business partners, starting over, both of us, on better terms. 6 months into our partnership, Sharon had proven herself. She'd followed through on every commitment, respected every boundary, and genuinely worked to repair our relationship. The business was thriving. We'd implemented her cooperative model carefully, bringing on 3 additional knitters, all women over 60 who'd been told their skills were outdated. Martha, 72, had been a professional knitter in Scotland before retiring. Her Fair Isle work was exquisite. June, 65, specialized in lace shawls so delicate they looked like spider webs. Patricia, 68, had arthritis, but could still create cables that made people gasp. We paid them well, really well, $30 an hour plus material costs. They could work at their own pace, from their own homes. We handled all the marketing, photography, and shipping. "This is incredible," Martha said during our first video meeting. "I thought my knitting days were over. My children kept telling me to give it up, that my hands couldn't handle it anymore." "Your hands are creating magic," I told her. "Don't let anyone tell you different." The first collection from our cooperative launched in September. We called it the Hearthside Guild, master knitters creating heirloom pieces. It sold out in 48 hours, $73,000 in sales. Sharon was ecstatic. "Mom, do you realize what this means? At this rate, we're on track for $500,000 in annual revenue." "Slow down," I cautioned. "We grow sustainably, remember?" I know, but Mom, you've built something really special here." We had. And not just the business, we'd built a community. The 4 knitters started a group chat, shared techniques, encouraged each other, became friends. They called themselves Betty's Guild, which made me tear up every time I heard it. Mark started bringing Emma to the farm every weekend. She was learning fiber processing, shearing the goats, washing fleece, carding wool. Dirty work, but she loved it. "Grandma, this is so much cooler than anything my friends are doing." "Your friends are doing perfectly good things." "Yeah, but they're doing what everyone expects. You're doing what everyone thinks is impossible." She'd gotten pretty wise for 16. One Saturday, while we were processing fleece together, she asked, "Grandma, were you mad at Mom and Uncle Mark when they treated you like you couldn't do stuff?" I was hurt more than mad. Why didn't you tell them sooner about your business? Because I needed to prove it to myself first. And because I paused, thinking, sometimes people need to see evidence before they'll believe. Words aren't enough. Is that why you bought the farm? As evidence? Smart girl. So you did it to prove something. I did it for me. The proving part was just a bonus. The business kept growing. Holiday season hit and we were drowning in orders. Good problem to have, but still a problem. Sharon suggested bringing on more knitters. I have a list of 10 women who've applied, all experienced, all passionate. Let's meet them first. I want to know their stories. We interviewed each one via video call. Every single woman had the same story. Talented, experienced, told by family or society that her skills were worthless. Margaret, 69. My daughter-in-law told me I should stop wasting time on grandma crafts and get a real hobby. Susan, 70. My children cleaned out my yarn stash when I had knee surgery, said I didn't need it anymore. I cried for weeks. Linda, 66. I worked in fashion for 30 years, retired, and suddenly everyone treated me like I had nothing left to contribute. We hired them all, not just for their skills, though those were incredible, but because they needed to be seen, valued, respected, just like I had. The Hearthside Guild grew to 12 knitters, then 15, then 20. We had to implement a more structured system: order management, quality control, inventory tracking. Sharon handled most of that, and she was brilliant at it. I'm learning so much from you, Mom, she said one day. Not just about business, but about people, about respect, about giving people chances to prove themselves. Took you long enough to learn it, she laughed. Better late than never? Better late than never. My farm was thriving too. 15 goats now, 5 sheep, and an alpaca named Fernando who thought he was a dog. The fiber operation was small but profitable, another revenue stream. I'd also started teaching workshops, fiber to finished product weekend intensives. Students came from across the country to learn everything from shearing to spinning to knitting. Emma helped me teach. At 16, she'd become an expert in fiber processing. She was planning to study textile arts in college, maybe start her own business someday. Because you showed me it's possible, Grandma. That's what it was all about. Showing people, especially women, especially older women, what was possible. One evening, I got an email from a woman named Dorothy. She was 74, had been following my Instagram. Betty, I started knitting again after seeing your posts. My family thought I was silly, wasting my time. But I just sold my first piece for $300. It's not much, but it's mine. I earned it. Thank you for showing me I still matter. I cried reading that email because that was exactly what this was all about. Not just building a business, but building proof that age doesn't equal irrelevance, that skill doesn't have an expiration date, that women over 60 can be bold, successful, unstoppable. Sharon came to the farm that weekend with news. Mom, I have an interview next week for a documentary. What documentary? About women entrepreneurs over 60. They want to feature you, the Hearthside Knit, the Guild, the farm, everything. They called you a pioneer in age-positive business models. They want to interview me? They want to tell your story, show other women what's possible. I thought about being on camera, about going public, about ending my Elizabeth Hartley anonymity. Will you do it? Sharon asked. On one condition. What's that? They interview the Guild too, all of them. This isn't just my story, it's ours. I'll tell them. The documentary crew came a month later, spent 3 days filming. Me with the goats, in the studio, teaching Emma, working with the Guild via video call. They interviewed Sharon about our partnership. Her answer made me cry. My mom taught me that success isn't about how much money you make or what title you have. It's about building something sustainable, treating people with respect, and never letting anyone tell you you're too old or too anything to matter. I spent years treating her like she was incompetent. Turns out, she was the smartest person in the room all along. The documentary aired 6 months later. The Hearthside Revolution: How One Woman's Secret Business Changed Everything. It went viral. My inbox exploded with messages from women over 60. You inspired me to start my business. I thought it was too late. Thank you for showing me it's not. I'm 75 and just launched my online store. The Hearthside Guild was flooded with applications. We were changing lives, proving points, building something revolutionary. All because I'd refused to accept anyone's definition of what I could or couldn't do. All because I'd kept knitting. Success breeds attention, not all of it good. 6 months after the documentary aired, I started getting calls from investors, venture capitalists, private equity firms, people who wanted to help us scale. Betty, we see incredible potential here. We'd like to invest $2 million for a 40% stake in the Hearthside Knit. $2 million. That was more money than I'd ever imagined having. Sharon's eyes were huge when I told her about the offers. Mom, do you realize what we could do with that kind of funding? I do, and I'm not interested. What? Why not? Because the moment we take outside money, we lose control. Those investors don't care about Martha or June or Patricia. They care about profit margins and growth metrics and exit strategies. But we could expand. We are expanding, sustainably, on our terms. We don't need to answer to investors who'll push us to cut costs and maximize returns at the expense of our artisans. Sharon looked frustrated. Old Sharon would have argued. New Sharon took a breath and said, "Explain it to me. Help me understand. Sit down." We sat on my porch, goats grazing in the distance. Sharon, what happens if we take that money and they want us to cut labor costs? We explain that our model depends on fair wages. And when they say fair wages aren't scalable, when they push us to move production overseas or bring in cheaper labor, she was quiet. This business exists to prove that older women's skills have value. The moment we compromise on that, we've lost everything that makes us special. We become just another knitwear company. I see that now. Do you? Because I need to know you won't be tempted by big money, that you understand what we're really building here. I do. I promise. We turned down every investment offer. Some investors got pushy, couldn't understand why we'd walk away from millions. You're being short-sighted, one said. You could be a $100 million company. I could be. Or I could be a sustainable business that treats people well and makes enough money to live comfortably. I choose the latter. But the attention had consequences. Other knitwear brands started copying our model. Not the quality, they couldn't match that, but the marketing angle. Empowering older artisans became trendy. Some were genuine, many weren't. We got an email from one company that made me furious. They were advertising hand-knitted items by grandmother artisans, but paying them $5 per piece, pieces that sold for $200. This is exactly what I was afraid of, I told Sharon. They're using older women as a marketing gimmick while exploiting them. What can we do? We expose them. I wrote a blog post, detailed the math, showed what ethical wages looked like versus exploitation, challenged other grandmother artisan brands to be transparent about their pay practices. It went viral, created a huge conversation about fair wages in handcraft industries. Some brands got defensive. Others actually changed their practices. A few thanked me for holding them accountable. But the experience left me shaken. I built this to create something good, I told Mark when he visited. Now I'm worried we've just created a new way to exploit vulnerable women. You also created a standard, he pointed out. Other women can look at the Hearthside Guild and know what fair treatment looks like. That's powerful, Mom. He was right. We'd set a new benchmark. Other artisans were using our wage structure to negotiate better pay. Our transparency was forcing other companies to be more honest. Meanwhile, the guild kept growing. We were up to 30 artisans now, creating waiting lists 6 months long, generating over $600,000 annually. But more important than the money was the impact. I got letters weekly from guild members. Patricia wrote, "Betty, my arthritis hasn't improved, but my spirits have. For the first time in years, my children call to ask about my work instead of suggesting I stop. They're proud of me now. Thank you for that. Martha wrote, "My doctor says the mental stimulation of complex knitting patterns is keeping my mind sharp. But more than that, I feel valued again. I wake up excited about my work. At 72, I thought those days were over." June wrote, "My husband told me yesterday that I seem 10 years younger since joining the Guild. He said I laugh more. He's right, I do. That was worth more than any investment dollars." One day, Emma came to the farm upset. "Grandma, my career counselor told me textile arts isn't a practical major, that I should study business or engineering instead, something useful." "What did you say?" "I didn't know what to say. She made it sound like what you do, what we do, isn't real." Emma, look around. You see this farm, this business, the 30 women who have jobs because of it, the families being supported, the lives being changed. Is that not real? It is real. Then tell your counselor she doesn't know what she's talking about. Tell her your grandmother built a multi-million-dollar business with yarn and needles. Tell her that practical is whatever creates value and pays the bills. She grinned. Can I say it just like that? Word for word. Later, Sharon told me Emma had marched into that counselor's office and repeated my speech verbatim. The counselor called me, Sharon said. She was impressed, said Emma showed real passion and conviction. As she should. You know what I realized, Mom? You're not just teaching Emma about business. You're teaching her not to accept other people's limitations. That's maybe the most valuable lesson of all. Took you 43 years to learn it yourself. Better late than never? Much better late than never. That year, the Hearthside Knit hit $1 million in revenue. $1 million from knitting. We celebrated with the Guild, a big video call with champagne and laughter. To Betty, Martha toasted, who proved that old women aren't done yet, not even close. To all of us, I countered, who refused to be invisible. We drank to that. 30 women over 60, making art, making money, making a point. We weren't invisible. We weren't done. We weren't irrelevant. We were just getting started. I was 70 years old when everything changed again. The Guild had expanded to 40 artisans. Revenue was steady at $1.2 million annually. My farm was profitable. My goats were happy. Life was good. Then, Emma graduated high school and announced she wanted to take a gap year before college. To work on the farm full-time, to really learn the business. Mark wasn't happy. She needs to go to college. This farm thing is great, but it's not a career. Why not? I asked. Because it's knitting, Mom. It's not secure. There it was. Even after everything, the old assumptions still lurked. Mark, I make $1.2 million a year knitting. How is that not secure? You know what I mean. I really don't. We argued about it for weeks. Finally, Emma solved it herself by enrolling in online business courses while working at the farm. Compromise. But the conversation stuck with me. Even Mark, who'd seen everything, who'd apologized and grown, still didn't fully believe that what we'd built was legitimate. I realized we needed to do more, not just run a successful business, but change the narrative about women's work, aging, and value. So I wrote a book, Needles and Numbers, Building $1 Million Business After 60. It took me a year to write, working early mornings before farm chores. Sharon helped with editing, Emma did the photography. We self-published it. Didn't want to deal with traditional publishers who'd want to change our message or own our rights. It sold 10,000 copies in the first month, then 50,000, then 100,000. Women over 60 were buying it, reading it, starting their own businesses. The reviews made me cry. Betty inspired me to start my soap-making business at 65. I'm making $5,000 a month now. I'm 70 and just launched my consulting practice. If Betty can do it, I can do it. This book should be required reading for anyone who thinks aging means declining. We started getting invitations to speak, business conferences, women's groups, university entrepreneurship programs. Sharon would come with me and we present together, mother and daughter, former adversaries turned partners. At one university talk, a young woman raised her hand. My grandmother is really talented at quilting, but my parents want her to stop because they think it's a waste of time. What should I tell them? Tell them your grandmother's skills have monetary value if she wants them to, I said. Tell them that dismissing traditional women's crafts as hobbies is sexist and ageist. Tell them to check their assumptions. The room erupted in applause. After the talk, 12 grandmothers approached me, all with stories of being dismissed, undervalued, told their skills didn't matter. By the end of the month, 8 of them had joined the Hearthside Guild. The business kept evolving. We launched a subscription box, Heirloom Monthly, featuring one-of-a-kind pieces from Guild members, sold out instantly. We created a mentorship program, experienced knitters teaching newcomers, passing down techniques that might otherwise be lost. We started a foundation, the Hearthside Legacy Fund, grants for women over 60 starting craft-based businesses. We weren't just running a company anymore, we were building a movement. Martha passed away when she was 75. She'd been with the Guild for 3 years. At her memorial service, her daughter pulled me aside. "I want to thank you," she said. "Mom was depressed before joining your Guild. She felt useless, like her life was over. But these last 3 years, she was so happy, so fulfilled. You gave her that." She gave it to herself. I just provided the platform. Still, thank you. Martha's obituary mentioned her work with the Hearthside Guild prominently. Master knitter, artisan, businesswoman. Not beloved grandmother or retired teacher or any of the usual diminishing phrases used in obituaries of older women. Master knitter, artisan, businesswoman. That felt right. Emma decided to stay at the farm instead of going to traditional college. She'd completed 2 years of online business courses and was running the fiber operation independently. "Grandma, I want to branch out, start my own line, sustainable yarns from our farm, marketed to younger knitters." "Do it." "You don't want to see a business plan first?" "Do I need to?" "Most investors would." "I'm not an investor. I'm your grandmother, and I believe in you." She launched Hearthside Fibers 6 months later, marketed directly to millennials and Gen Z through TikTok and Instagram, positioned it as ethical, sustainable, traceable. Every skein came with a photo of the specific goat it came from. It exploded. Younger knitters loved the transparency and the story. Emma hit $100,000 in sales her first year. At 19 years old, Sharon was thrilled. "This is incredible. She's doing what you did, Mom, building something from nothing." Not from nothing, from skills and determination and refusing to accept other people's limitations. Still, the legacy continues. The legacy. I liked that. At 70, I was ready to step back slightly. Not retire, I'd never fully retire, but delegate more. Sharon took over day-to-day operations of the Hearthside Knit. Emma ran the fiber business. I focused on the Guild and the foundation. We'd created something sustainable, something that would outlive me. One evening, sitting on my porch with Fernando the alpaca at my feet, I thought about the past 6 years. I'd started with a secret business, a need to prove myself, a desire to show my children I wasn't the burden they thought I was. And I'd ended up building a movement, proving to thousands of women that age doesn't equal irrelevance, that traditional women's crafts have real value, that 60, 70, 80 isn't the end, it's just another beginning. Sharon came out to join me. "What are you thinking about?" "How far we've come." "We?" "All of us. You, me, the Guild, Emma. Every woman who started a business after reading our story. You did that, Mom. We did that. Together." She smiled. "Better late than never, right?" Much better late than never. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the farm. My business, my legacy. And I thought, this is what success looks like. Not just the money or the recognition, but the knowledge that you changed things, made them better, showed people what was possible. I'd done that. We'd done that. And we weren't done yet. I was 72 when I got the letter that changed everything. Again. It came from a law firm in Manhattan. Thick envelope, expensive paper. My first thought was, what now? Inside was a letter from a woman named Catherine Sterling. She was 81 years old and had been following the Hearthside Knit since the documentary. But this wasn't a fan letter. This was a business proposal. Catherine had built a textile empire in the 1970s and 80s, sold it for $40 million in 1995. She'd been retired ever since, watching her industry evolve, or, as she put it, devolve into fast fashion garbage. I want to invest in the Hearthside Guild, she wrote. Not to change what you're doing, but to amplify it. I have capital, connections, and expertise. You have vision, values, and proof of concept. Together, we could revolutionize how the world values traditional crafts and older artisans. She wanted to meet, in person, at my farm. Mom, this is huge, Sharon said when I showed her the letter. Catherine Sterling is a legend. If she's interested, we've turned down investors before. This is different. She's not some VC bro trying to disrupt our business model. She gets it. She's lived it. Maybe. Catherine arrived 2 weeks later, driven up from New York in a town car, elegantly dressed, sharp-eyed, carrying herself like someone who'd built and commanded empires. We sat on my porch, where all important conversations happened, and talked for 4 hours. I'm going to be blunt, she said. I have 15, maybe 20 good years left. I want to spend them fixing what I helped break. What did you break? The fashion industry, the textile industry. In the 80s, we prioritized speed and profit over everything, pushed manufacturing overseas, devalued traditional craftsmanship. I made millions doing it, and I've regretted it ever since. So this is redemption? Partially, but it's also opportunity. Betty, what you've built proves there's a market for quality, for story, for ethical production. But you're thinking too small. Excuse me? She smiled. That came out wrong. What I mean is, you're focused on knitwear. But this model, fair wages for older artisans, transparency, quality over quantity, it could work for every traditional craft. Quilting, pottery, weaving, woodworking, all of it. That's ambitious. I'm 81. I don't have time to think small. Her proposal was comprehensive. She'd invest $5 million, not for equity, but as a loan at minimal interest. We'd use it to launch Hearthside Crafts, a multi-craft cooperative using our model. You maintain creative and operational control, she said. I provide capital, industry connections, and my expertise. We pay off the loan over 10 years. After that, everything belongs to you and the artisans. Why would you do this? Because I'm dying, Betty. The words hung in the air. Pancreatic cancer. Caught it early, but still. I have maybe 5 years, probably less. I could leave my money to my children. They don't need it. Or museums, they have plenty. Or I could invest it in something that matters, something that fixes what I broke. I looked at this woman, this powerful, accomplished, dying woman who wanted to spend her final years making amends. I need to think about it. Of course, take your time. But Betty, don't wait too long. Neither of us is getting younger. I called the guild meeting, explained the proposal to all 40 artisans. The debate was intense. Some were excited about expansion. Others worried we'd lose our way. Patricia spoke up. I'm 70 now. 10 years ago, I thought my life was over. Betty showed me it wasn't. If we can do that for quilters and potters and weavers, shouldn't we? June disagreed. But what if it changes us? What if we get too big and lose what makes us special? Then we don't get too big, I said. We grow carefully, sustainably. We don't compromise on our values. Can you guarantee that? No, but I can promise to try. We voted. 32 yes, 8 no. We took Catherine's offer. Hearthside Crafts launched 6 months later. We started with 3 new crafts: quilting, pottery, and basket weaving. Recruited master artisans, over 60, paid them the same fair wages we paid our knitters. Catherine was hands-on but respectful. She'd attend meetings, offer advice, make connections, but always deferred to our decisions. "This is your vision," she'd say. "I'm just the money." But she was more than that. She was a mentor, a friend, a fellow revolutionary who understood what we were trying to build. We created an apprenticeship program, younger artisans learning from masters, ensuring these skills didn't die with this generation. Emma expanded her fiber business, partnering with our weavers. Farm to fabric to finished product, completely traceable, completely ethical. The business exploded. Hearthside Crafts hit $5 million in revenue the first year. We had waiting lists for everything. Press coverage from major outlets, recognition as innovators in ethical craftsmanship. But the most meaningful moments were smaller, personal. Like the email from a 75-year-old quilter. "I thought my hands were too arthritic to matter anymore. Thank you for proving me wrong." Or the call from a 68-year-old potter. "My son just asked if he could learn my techniques. He wants to document them. He's never cared about my work before." Or Martha's daughter, now a guild quilter herself. "Mom would be so proud. She'd love that her legacy continues through this." We were changing lives, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, counting family members who were learning to value what their elders created. Catherine's health declined faster than expected. By year 3, she was in hospice. I visited her weekly. "Did we fix it?" she asked during one visit. "Did we fix what I broke?" "We're fixing it, one artisan at a time." She smiled. "Good, that's good." Catherine, thank you for believing in this, for making it possible. Thank you for giving me something meaningful to do with my final years. I was so bored before this. She died 2 weeks later, left her entire estate, $38 million, to the Hearthside Foundation, to continue the work of valuing traditional crafts and the artisans who create them. At her memorial, her children thanked me. "Mom was happiest these last 3 years. You gave her purpose. You gave her joy. Thank you." We'd done something remarkable, built something that mattered, created legacy and meaning and proof that older women's work had value. All because I'd refused to let my children's assumptions define me. All because I'd kept knitting. I'm 75 now, and I'm sitting on my porch, watching Emma teach a group of young weavers how to shear goats properly, thinking about how far we've all come. Hearthside Crafts employs 200 artisans across 12 different crafts. Revenue is steady at $15 million annually. We've paid off Catherine's loan 3 years early. But those numbers don't tell the real story. The real story is in the letters I still get daily, from 70-year-old women starting pottery businesses, 65-year-old grandmothers launching weaving cooperatives, 80-year-old quilters finally charging what their work is worth. "You showed me I wasn't done," they write. "You showed me I still mattered." That's what this was always about. Mattering, being seen, being valued. Sharon runs Hearthside Crafts now. She's brilliant at it, combines business acumen with genuine care for the artisans. She's become the person I always hoped she'd be. Last week, she told me something that made me cry. "Mom, I was thinking about when I wanted you to move into assisted living, when I thought you were wasting money on yarn. And I realized I was so scared. Scared of what? Of becoming like you. Of getting old and being dismissed. Of having my children look at me the way I looked at you, like I was obsolete. So I tried to control you, to make you small. Because if you could be small and manageable, then maybe I wouldn't have to face the terror of aging myself. And now? Now I'm not scared anymore, because you showed me that aging doesn't mean shrinking. It means evolving, growing, becoming more of who you really are. You learned that lesson 30 years too late. Better late than never? Much better late than never. Emma is 24 now. Her fiber business generates $2 million annually. She's become a voice in the sustainable fashion movement, speaking at conferences, consulting for major brands, pushing the industry toward ethics and transparency. Because Grandma showed me how, she tells interviewers. She proved that you can be successful and ethical, that profit and principles aren't opposites. Mark retired early to help manage the farm. Turns out, he loves working with animals more than he ever loved corporate life. I wasted 40 years in the wrong career, he told me recently. You were brave enough to start over at 64. Took me until 58 to find that same courage. You found it. That's what matters. The Guild has become legendary. Artisans apply from around the world. We have a rigorous selection process, not based on credentials, but on skill, passion, and need for community. We prioritize women who've been told they're past their prime, who've been dismissed, undervalued, made invisible. We give them platform, voice, value. Last month, we held our first international summit, The Value of Experience, Celebrating Craft and Age. 400 artisans over 60 attended, from 12 countries, all building businesses using our model. I gave the opening keynote, talked about that day 11 years ago when I'd listed my first sweater on Etsy, how I'd been angry and hurt and determined to prove myself. But here's what I learned, I told them. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need permission to value your own skills. You don't need external validation to know you matter. You already matter. You always mattered. I just helped create a space where that truth could be seen. Standing ovation, women crying, hugging each other, celebrating not just success, but visibility. That evening, Sharon and I walked the farm together, just the two of us. Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Do you forgive me, really forgive me, for how I treated you? I forgave you years ago, Sharon. But do you trust me? Do you see me differently now? I stopped walking, turned to face her. Sharon, I'm prouder of who you've become than anything else I've accomplished. You were raised in a culture that taught you to devalue women's work and aging. You absorbed those messages. But then you questioned them, challenged them, changed yourself. That's incredible. You made me change. No, I gave you a reason to change. You did the hard work of actually changing. She hugged me. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. That night, alone in my farmhouse, I thought about legacy, about what I'd leave behind. Not just a business, though Heartside Crafts would continue long after I was gone. Not just money, though the foundation would support artisans for decades. But proof. Proof that age doesn't diminish value. Proof that traditional women's crafts matter. Proof that 60, 70, 80 isn't the end. It's just another beginning. I'd started knitting at 64 because I was lonely and needed purpose. I'd built $1 million business because I was angry and needed to prove myself. But I'd created a movement because other women needed what I'd needed: validation, visibility, value. Last week, I got a letter from a 90-year-old woman in Japan. She'd started a pottery business at 85 after reading my book. I thought my life was over, she wrote. You showed me it was just beginning again. Thank you for teaching me that it's never too late. It's never too late. That's the real legacy. I'm 75. I still knit every day, still run the farm, still mentor younger artisans, still push back against ageism and sexism and the dismissal of women's work. My hands are more arthritic now. My eyes need better light. I move slower. But I'm not done. Not even close. Because I've learned that value doesn't depreciate with age. Skills don't expire. Purpose doesn't retire. You just keep going, keep creating, keep proving that the world's assumptions about older women are wrong. My daughter thought I was wasting money on yarn. I built $1 million empire. My family thought I needed managing. I taught them about independence. The world thought I was invisible. I made myself impossible to ignore. That's my story. That's my legacy. That's my proof. And to every woman listening who's been told she's too old, too irrelevant, too past her prime, I'm here to tell you the truth. You're not done. You're not obsolete. You're not invisible. You're just getting started. So pick up your needles, your paintbrush, your pottery wheel, your passion, Whatever it is you've been told doesn't matter, and prove them wrong. Because that's what we do. We prove them wrong. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If my story has taught you anything, I hope it's this. Never let anyone else define your worth. Never accept their limitations as your own. Never believe that your best years are behind you. Every day is a chance to begin again. Every skill you have is valuable. Every dream you hold matters. Age is just a number. What matters is what you do with your time, your talents, your truth. Now go build your empire, one stitch at a time.